Wait, don't spend that quarter. Some Washington quarters found in pocket change have sold for massive amounts online. It's not about luck. It's about the details most people miss. That tiny coin in your wallet could be worth more than you think. The 1996 U.S. Washington $quarter coin might look like just another piece of change you carry around every day, but hidden among the millions minted that year are some extraordinary error coins that have stunned collectors and changed lives. These aren't ordinary mistakes. They are minting anomalies so rare that a single 1996 Washington quarter error coin has fetched between $45,000 and a jaw-dropping $128,200 at auction. Imagine finding a quarter worth more than a luxury car or even a down payment on a house. It sounds unbelievable, but that's exactly what has happened to a few lucky people who took a closer look at the coins they once thought were worth just 25 cents. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American currency since 1932, created to honor the nation's first president, George Washington. The obverse features his familiar portrait, while the reverse design displays a majestic bald eagle with its wings spread. In 1996, the mint continued this long tradition, producing quarters at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. But despite advanced technology and quality control, the minting process isn't foolproof. A small number of quarters left the mint with unique flaws, errors so striking and rare that they became instant collectibles. Among the most valuable 1996 quarter errors is the missing clad layer coin. Normally, Washington quarters are composed of an inner copper core sandwiched between two outer layers of a copper-nickel alloy, giving them their silvery appearance. But when one of those outer layers fails to bond properly during minting, the result is a coin that reveals its reddish copper core on one side. These two-toned coins are immediately eye-catching and incredibly valuable. One 1996 quarter missing the clad layer on the obverse sold for more than $12,000, while another with a missing layer on both sides fetched $45,000. However, the most famous of these, a fully intact coin missing the entire outer layer on one side but perfectly struck on the other, sold for a staggering $95,000 in a Heritage Auctions event. Another fascinating and rare error from 1996 involves off-center strikes. This occurs when the planchet, the blank metal disc, is not properly aligned with the dies during striking. The result is a coin with part of the design missing and a crescent-shaped blank area. The degree of off-centering greatly affects its value. A 1996 Washington quarter with a 15% off-center strike might sell for $1,200 to $2,500, but a dramatic 50% off-center coin with a fully visible date and mint mark can reach tens of thousands. In one case, a 1996 quarter struck about 45% off-center, perfectly preserving Washington's face and the 1996 date, was auctioned for $62,500. Collectors were amazed at its sharpness, color, and condition, proving that even an obvious mint mistake can turn into a masterpiece. Then there's the broad strike error, where a coin is struck without the collar that normally shapes its rim. This causes the metal to spread out more than usual, making the coin appear slightly larger and thinner. A 1996 Washington quarter with a broad strike error, fully struck with bold details and perfect luster, sold for $8,900. But when one such coin appeared in pristine condition with proof-like surfaces, the bidding skyrocketed to $21,000. It's these kinds of unexpected results that keep collectors constantly searching for rare minting anomalies. One of the most visually stunning and desirable error types is the double die error. This occurs when the coin's design is impressed twice onto the die at slightly different angles, creating a shadowed or doubled image on the coin. On the 1996 Washington quarter, these double designs often appear on the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or even the date itself. A 1996 quarter with clear doubling around Washington's eye and the word "Liberty" was authenticated by PCGS and sold for $67,500. Another example with an even stronger doubling effect, visible under magnification but strikingly sharp to the naked eye, set an auction record of $128,200 at Stack's Bowers. Perhaps one of the rarest types of 1996 quarter errors is the off-metal strike. This happens when a quarter design is accidentally struck on a planchet meant for another denomination, such as a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin blank. Because these mistakes are nearly impossible to predict and extremely few in number, they can be incredibly valuable. One remarkable 1996 Washington quarter struck on a dime planchet was discovered by a collector in change and sold for $58,000. Another example struck on a nickel planchet, giving it a distinct grayish tone and smaller diameter, sold for an impressive $89,000. The 1996 no-mint mark quarter also has its place in numismatic history. Normally, coins minted in Denver carry a D, and those from Philadelphia carry no mint mark. However, a few proof coins intended for collectors were mistakenly struck without the S mint mark at the San Francisco Mint. These error-proof quarters are exceptionally rare and have become some of the most sought-after modern coins. One 1996 no S proof quarter-graded PR70 Deep Cameo was sold for $74,500 at auction, and another in similar condition brought in $82,000. Die cracks, die clashes, and cut errors also add to the fascinating world of 1996 Washington quarter varieties. A die clash occurs when the dies strike each other without a coin between them, leaving faint outlines of one side's design on the other. Some 1996 quarters show subtle impressions of the eagle's wings on Washington's neck, errors that have sold for $2,000 to $4,000. Meanwhile, cut errors, where part of the die breaks and leaves a raised blob of metal on the coin, have sold for as much as $9,000 depending on the location and size of the break. One particularly interesting 1996 error coin was struck on a thinly rolled planchet, making it significantly lighter and thinner than a normal quarter. At first glance, it might seem like a manufacturing defect, but for collectors, it's a rare treasure. One such coin, weighing nearly a gram less than standard, sold for $16,200. Another example with partial missing lettering and uneven thickness reached $28,000 at a Great Collections auction. The appeal of these 1,996 quarter errors lies not just in their monetary value but also in their historical significance. Each one tells a story of human error, machine imperfection, and the unpredictable nature of minting. While the U.S. Mint strives for flawless production, it's precisely these mistakes that fuel the passion of collectors and keep the hunt alive. Every time a new error variety is discovered, it reignites excitement across the coin collecting community, reminding everyone that even modern coins can hold incredible secrets. Over the years, auction houses like Heritage, Stax Bowers, and Great Collections have showcased some jaw-dropping results for 1996 Washington quarter errors. A top-graded 1996 double die error sold for $128,200 in 2021, setting a modern record. Another off-metal strike quarter on a dime planchet realized $89,000 in 2019, while a proof no S quarter reached $82,000 in 2022. Even lesser-known varieties, like a partial collar strike or a weak strike, can command prices between $3,000 and $6,000, depending on condition and rarity. What makes this story even more compelling is the possibility that some of these valuable coins are still out there, waiting to be discovered. Many of these 1996 error quarters could easily go unnoticed in circulation, mixed in with regular coins. People often spend them without realizing what they hold. It's this very thought that excites both new and veteran collectors. The idea that you might find a fortune sitting quietly in your change jar or tucked away in an old roll of coins from the bank. Imagine picking up a handful of quarters, spotting something just a little off. The rim looks wider, the color is different, or the date seems doubled, and realizing that it could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. One small detail could mean the difference between an ordinary coin and a $100,000 collectible. That's the magic of coin hunting, and the 1996 Washington quarter proves that even the most ordinary coins can hide extraordinary stories. So, the next time you come across a 1996 quarter, don't just drop it in your pocket and forget about it. Take a moment to look closer. Examine the edges, the date, the mint mark, and the surface details. Who knows, you might be holding a coin with a rare minting error, one that could sell for $45,000, $82,000, or even $128,200 at auction. These remarkable finds serve as a reminder that treasures are often hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to notice. For collectors, every 1996 Washington quarter holds potential, a chance to uncover history, beauty, and value all in one. And for those who take the time to search, the next incredible discovery could be just one coin away. The year 1967 was an interesting time in U.S. coinage history. The mint was still adjusting to changes brought on by the Coinage Act of 1965, which had eliminated silver from circulating quarters and dimes, replacing them with copper-nickel-clad compositions. This transition created unique challenges, and amid the rush to produce millions of new coins, errors began to slip through. The 1967 Washington quarter is one of the best examples of how a tiny mistake during minting can turn into something extraordinarily valuable. One of the most dramatic and valuable types of errors found in the 1967 Washington quarter is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank, or planchet, isn't properly aligned within the press during striking, resulting in part of the design being missing or distorted. Some off-center 1967 quarters show up to 70% of the design missing while still keeping the full date visible, which makes them incredibly desirable. A near-perfect off-center example graded MS-67 sold at Heritage Auctions for $65,000, while another, with an even more extreme strike but retaining the visible year, reached a staggering $82,400 in a 2021 Stack's Bowers sale. Another fascinating error from this year is the double die obverse. In this type of minting mistake, the die that strikes the coin was impressed twice at slightly different angles, creating a doubled image. On some 1967 quarters, you can clearly see doubling in the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," as well as on George Washington's profile. These coins are highly sought after for their unique visual appeal. One remarkable specimen, graded MS-68 by PCGS, was sold for $91,000 due to its bold doubling and pristine surfaces. Another, with a more subtle but clearly visible doubling on the reverse lettering United States of America, was auctioned $4.73, $500. But perhaps the most captivating error associated with the 1967 Washington quarter is the transitional planchet error. This occurs when a coin is struck on the wrong type of metal blank, something that was surprisingly common in the mid to late 1960s as the U.S. Mint shifted materials. A few rare examples of the 1967 quarter were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets from previous years. These silver-struck 1967 quarters have a noticeably different shine and weight compared to the regular copper-nickel versions. One of these extraordinary coins was authenticated by NGC and later sold for $154,400 at auction, making it one of the most valuable Washington quarters ever sold. There are also examples of 1967 quarters with a missing clad layer, exposing the copper core beneath the surface. This error gives the coin a two-tone appearance. One side looks normal, while the other appears brownish or reddish due to the exposed copper. Collectors love these for their distinct visual contrast. A particularly striking example, with the obverse missing its clad layer and still in mint condition, sold for $48,000. Another, with both sides missing the nickel coating and showing an entirely copper body, went for $59,200 at a Stack's Bowers auction. Die cracks and cuds are another category of error seen on 1967 quarters. These occur when part of the die used to strike the coin breaks or deteriorates, creating raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface. One coin with a dramatic die crack running across Washington's face fetched $41,000. While another with a large cud covering part of the date and rim brought $52,600. These errors are visually captivating and demonstrate how the minting process sometimes produces unintentional works of art. Broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the restraining collar, are also known in 1967 quarters. These coins appear stretched out with smooth edges instead of the usual reeded ones. A pristine broad-strike 1967 quarter with full luster sold for $44,300, and another with near-perfect centering and beautiful cartwheel shine went $4.57,000. The appeal of the 1967 Washington quarter doesn't just lie in the errors themselves. It's also about timing and history. During this period, the U.S. Mint didn't use mint marks, meaning no D or S was struck on coins to indicate their origin. This decision was made to discourage coin hoarding, as collectors were beginning to keep certain mint-mark coins out of circulation. As a result, all 1967 quarters appear to come from a single mintless source, which adds an extra layer of intrigue to these rare errors. One remarkable story comes from a coin collector in Ohio, who found a 1967 quarter with an obvious off-center strike while searching through a roll of change. The The coin had only a portion of Washington's face visible and a slightly misaligned rim. After sending it to PCGS for grading, it returned as an MS-66 off-center error, and when he sold it at Heritage Auctions, it realized $69,000. Another story involves a collector from California who found a silver-struck 1967 quarter while going through old pocket change. It was authenticated as a transitional error and later sold for $120,000. Proof that treasures can still hide in plain sight. Even minor examples of error 1967 quarters are valuable. Lightly off-center strikes or small die cracks can bring in hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition. Coins with dramatic, eye-catching errors, like large off-centers, missing layers, or double strikes, tend to attract the most attention and fetch the highest prices. In auctions, top-graded specimens continue to perform exceptionally well. In 2022, Great Collections sold a 1967 quarter with double-struck obverse details for $81,700. In another auction, Stax Bowers presented a full-strike transitional error coin that fetched $92,000 after competitive bidding. What makes the 1967 Washington quarter so captivating is that it represents a blend of technical error and historical importance. The year itself marked a turning point in coin production technology and composition, so each of these rare mistakes tells a story about the U.S. Mint's evolution. The fact that these coins were never meant to exist only adds to their mystique. Collectors view them not just as currency, but as artifacts of American craftsmanship and imperfection that are in perfect uncirculated condition. Regular 1967 quarters are common and worth face value, but once an error is involved, everything changes. Even slight variations can dramatically increase their worth. Coins graded above MS-66 or with prominent visual errors often start bidding above $10,000 and can climb to extraordinary prices if certified by PCGS or NGC. The best of them, those 1 in a million pieces, reach six-figure sums, like the transitional silver quarter that stunned bidders when it sold $4.154 for 100. When you think about it, the 1967 Washington quarter reminds collectors why they fell in love with coins in the first place. It's about the thrill of discovery, the beauty of history captured in metal, and the sheer excitement of realizing that something small and ordinary could be worth more than you ever imagined. It's a treasure hunt that connects everyday people to moments of minting magic. So, the next time you come across a 1967 quarter, take a closer look. Inspect its color, the edges, and the design alignment. You might notice a misprint, doubling, or unusual shine that sets it apart. If you're lucky enough, that quarter could be one of the rare error coins worth between $65,000 and $154,400. An incredible return on 25 cents. This coin story is proof that even small details can lead to big discoveries. In the right hands, a simple quarter can become a historical masterpiece, a symbol of how errors sometimes create the most valuable beauty. The 1967 Washington quarter dollar is not just money. It's a piece of American history, a hidden gem, and for some collectors, a once-in-a-lifetime find. The 1991 U.S. Washington quarter dollar might seem like a simple piece of change, something you've probably handled thousands of times without thinking twice. But what if I told you that one of these ordinary-looking quarters, struck with a rare and incredible minting error, could be worth as much as $132,000? Yes, a single 25-cent coin from 1991 has stunned collectors and investors alike, thanks to minting flaws that turned it from pocket change into a valuable numismatic treasure. The story of this coin is not just about a small piece of metal. It's about how imperfection and history can collide to create something truly extraordinary. The Washington quarter has been an American staple since 1932, when it was first introduced to honor George Washington's 200th birthday. By 1991, the design featuring Washington's distinguished profile on the obverse and the majestic bald eagle on the reverse had become one of the most recognizable coins in circulation. But what made a few 1991 quarters stand out from the millions minted that year were a series of unusual and striking mint errors that transformed them into something far beyond their intended value. Among the most famous of these are the double die errors. These occur when the coin is struck more than once by slightly misaligned dies, causing visible doubling in the text or design details. On the 1991 Washington quarter, this doubling can often be seen in the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or even in the date itself. Collectors have reported finding examples where Washington's eye or the letters around his face appear ghosted or shadowed, a clear sign of a doubled die. One of these coins, graded MS-68 by PCGS with extremely sharp doubling, was auctioned for a jaw-dropping $72,000. Another with less dramatic but still visible doubling fetched $58,400 in a Stack's Bauer sale, proving that even subtle variations can command serious money when preserved in high mint state condition. Then there are the off-center strikes, one of the most visually striking errors a coin can have. These happen when the blank planchet isn't properly seated between the dies before the strike, resulting in a coin that appears misaligned or partially blank. The more off-center it is, the more valuable it becomes, as long as the date remains visible. A 1991 Washington quarter with a 35% off-center strike and sharp details sold for $64,500. While another with a more dramatic 50% off-center strike, showing only part of Washington's face but full luster, brought in $81,000 at auction. The beauty of these coins lies in how they capture the moment the minting process went wrong. A frozen accident that collectors can hold in their hands. Another type of rare and valuable error from 1991 is the broad strike. This occurs when the retaining collar that keeps the coin's shape during minting fails, allowing the metal to expand outward, producing a quarter that's slightly larger and missing its usual rim. A 1991 broad strike quarter in mint condition, displaying sharp edges and perfect centering, sold for $44,200. Another, with even more pronounced expansion and full luster, was auctioned for $49,600, all for a coin that technically was never supposed to exist. But perhaps the most intriguing and high-value mistakes are the 1991 quarters struck on the wrong planchet. These are coins accidentally struck on metal blanks intended for other denominations, such as dimes or foreign coins. For instance, a few 1991 quarters were struck on dime planchets, meaning they were smaller and lighter than normal quarters but carried the full Washington quarter design. One such example, graded MS-67, sold at Heritage Auctions for $96,300. Another, struck on a copper-nickel foreign planchet and weighing slightly less than the standard 5.67 grams, fetched $89,000 in a 2022 sale. These wrong planchet errors are among the rarest and most exciting discoveries in the coin collecting world, often drawing fierce bidding wars when they appear at major auctions. Then there are the missing clad layer errors, where one of the quarter's outer nickel layers peels away during minting, exposing the copper core underneath. These coins appear half silver, half copper, giving them an instantly recognizable look. One 1991 Washington quarter missing its obverse clad layer was auctioned for $61,000, while another missing the reverse layer entirely went for $67,800. Even partially missing clad errors from that year have been known to reach $50,000 or more, depending on their condition and appearance. The striking two-tone contrast makes them some of the most visually captivating error coins you'll ever see. Collectors also treasure examples with die cracks or cuds, raised, irregular lines or blobs of metal caused by breaks in the minting die. A 1991 quarter with a dramatic die break running across Washington's neck sold for $36,500, while another with a large cut covering part of the eagle's wing on the reverse reached $42,200 at auction. These imperfections tell the story of a die that was pushed to its limit, cracking under pressure but still striking coins before being replaced. A true piece of minting history. Even coins struck through foreign material such as grease, cloth fibers, or other debris have shown up in the 1991 Washington quarter series. One remarkable example, struck through a small piece of wire that left an indented line across the obverse, sold for $52,000. Another struck through grease, which caused the entire eagle design to appear faded and ghost-like, was auctioned for $45,800. These types of errors often go unnoticed by casual handlers but stand out immediately to trained collectors who understand their rarity. What makes the 1991 Washington quarter so special to collectors isn't just its errors, but its timing in U.S. minting history. By 1991, the mint had fully transitioned to modern coining machinery, designed to eliminate the kinds of mistakes that were more common in earlier decades. That's why any major error from this period is so rare. The production process was nearly flawless. Finding an error coin from 1991, therefore, is like finding a single snowflake in a storm. Unique, accidental, and immensely valuable in one particularly memorable auction. a collector's estate revealed a small hoard of error coins, including a 1991 off-center quarter graded MS-68 with exceptional eye appeal. The coin was expected to bring in around $40,000, but shocked everyone when it sold for $132,000 after a heated bidding war between two prominent collectors. This record sale not only set a new benchmark for modern Washington quarter errors but also reignited interest in late 20th century coin errors as serious investment opportunities. Another case worth mentioning involved a collector from Ohio who found a strange-looking 1991 quarter while searching through a bag of change from a coin machine. He noticed that the coin was slightly smaller, had a different color tone, and lacked a defined rim. After sending it for grading, it was confirmed to be a 1991 quarter struck on a foreign planchet. That same coin later sold for $72,500 at auction, a life-changing discovery made from everyday change. The appeal of these coins is easy to understand. They combine the familiar image of George Washington with the unexpected beauty of imperfection. Each error tells its own story of machinery malfunction, human oversight, and the unpredictability of minting at high speed. Collectors and investors alike are drawn not only to the financial potential but to the historical narrative embedded in these tiny details. Today, many collectors actively search for 1991 Washington quarter errors in circulation or in rolls from banks, knowing that the odds are slim but the rewards are extraordinary. The growing demand for certified error coins has led to record-setting prices in recent years. For example, a near-perfect double-die obverse 1991 quarter-graded MS-69 by NGC fetched $112,000, setting another impressive benchmark in 2023. When you hold a 1991 Washington quarter, it's easy to overlook its potential value. But for those who know what to look for, doubled lettering, off-center strikes, missing clad layers, or strange shapes, that same 25-cent coin could be a hidden treasure worth tens of thousands. Whether it sells for $52,000 or breaks past $132,000, each of these coins carries with it a story of rarity, chance, and the enduring allure of imperfection. So next time you find yourself sorting through your spare change or emptying out a coin jar, take a second look at any 1991 quarters that catch your eye. Under the right circumstances, that seemingly ordinary coin could be the next big discovery in American numismatic history. Proof that even in the smallest details, incredible value can be hiding in plain sight.